Well, good morning and welcome to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom. We are broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. I'm so glad that you've joined us this morning. We have a busy show in store, a lot to talk about, a lot of breaking news from yesterday. Also, we'll be hearing from Kelly Tucker, Tanya Tucker's niece, a little bit later on. She has a new music video out. She was kind enough to join us. Thought change it up a little bit. We've been having some great interviews lately, and I thought I would just go a little music for a moment. And that'll be in the 6 o'clock hour, so coming up here in just a little bit. But first, let's kick off with viewer comments, shall we? Incidentally, this viewer says, I have never taken a vaccine as an adult, and I've been healthy except for years ago, one time when I caught the flu and missed that Christmas. However, I'm 70 years old and feel as healthy as when I was 40 years old. Since I've retired, my healthcare provider has been constantly pushing me to get a COVID vaccine shot. Needless to say, I have refused to. I don't trust vaccines. In fact, the initial COVID vaccines had killed people. This fact begs the question, who can be held responsible for these deaths? They can place all the vaccines in a certain undisclosed location, if you don't mind. That's how I'll word it. I'm guessing, of course, that's in reference to RFK Jr.'s trial, listen to me, hearing yesterday. Don't read too much into that. I was thinking about all the activist judges that we're going to get to here in just a little bit. But the hearing, we are going to talk about that. Got very contentious. Well, I'm going to read you different opinions on it, but ultimately I want your opinion. Comment from a different viewer. Mark writes in, President Trump said tariffs could replace income tax, and the Democrats are going crazy over it. No more IRS, no more money coming out of our paychecks. So this means they can't play with our money anymore. Yes, it just won't feel the same if it's not their constituents' money that they're wasting. But I agree with you, Mark. They want that mad money that we've learned so much about the wasteful spending in just these, not even, just a few short months of Trump's second term. Comment from Scott, and he says, good morning. I hope this isn't a stupid question, but why is there so much anti-Semitism, I'll word it that way, in the Democratic Party? That's a great question. Unfortunately, sadly, I don't have an answer for you. I think it's heartbreaking when you see anti-Semitism really promoted. Van Jones saying back during the election that the Democrat Party is marbled with anti-Semitism. And this isn't, to someone's point yesterday about it on college campuses, if this were any other minority group, there would be outrage if we said a mayoral candidate in New York held these views against a different minority group. Could you imagine? That would be disqualifying. That'd be the end of their campaign, and rightfully so. But it is widely acknowledged that socialist Zoran Mamdani has espoused what would be deemed as anti-Semitic comments. So I don't have an answer for you. It's a great question. It's, for whatever reason, accepted. It's even encouraged. We had a piece, maybe a month ago now, saying that the kind of more establishment Democrats, maybe the old guard, will have to change their tune on Israel and the Jewish community. And it was basically saying you have to go more towards the Democrat socialist idea, which is that kind of anti-Semitic platitudes or sayings and slogans and beliefs. There was actually, I read an article I didn't print out this morning, that in Detroit there was a major rally against Israel, and you had, was it Rashida Tlaib or Ilhan Omar? No, I think it was Rashida Tlaib speaking. So you had members of Congress speaking. A great question, Scott, and I wish I knew. This is just, this is a breaking story and also very odd. And I thought on a Friday, why not? I know in the past we've talked about some interesting sports. We talked about horse racing. We've talked, as you know, as I mentioned before, I'm a big fan of boxing. Well, this I don't think is healthy for the sport of boxing, but nevertheless, here we go. Mike Tyson and Floyd Mayweather are set to fight in an exhibition match after signing a deal to make it happen yesterday. The fight will happen at some point in the spring of 2026, although the location and the date of the match are still being determined, according to CSI Sports and Fight Sports. Mayweather previously fought in a professional match back in August of 2017 against Conor McGregor. That's where this really all kicked off, when it became kind of a sideshow, where it became these huge money payouts with not actual what you would call skilled boxing. And now you have the Paul brothers, and you have all of these kind of what would in the past be called exhibitions, but being hyped. This one, though, being called an exhibition, but being hyped as an actual fight equivalent to a heavyweight championship. Tyson fought Jake Paul in November, as you recall. Mike Tyson releasing a statement. When CSI came to me about stepping in the ring with Floyd Mayweather, I thought, no way this is going to happen. But Floyd said yes. This fight is something neither the world nor I ever thought would or could happen. However, boxing has entered a new era of the unpredictable, and this fight is as unpredictable as it gets. I still can't believe Floyd wants to really do this. It's going to be detrimental to his health. A little bit of smack talking. But he wants to do it, so it's signed, and it's happening. Mayweather does not seem too concerned. I mean, you got to, first of all, we know that Floyd Mayweather spends money very quickly. So you wonder how much of that fortune is left. Maybe that's why he's taking some of these fights, or maybe just why not. But he released a statement saying, I've been doing this for 30 years, and there hasn't been a single fighter that can tarnish my legacy. You already know that if I'm going to do something, it's going to be big and it's going to be legendary. I'm the best in the business of boxing. This exhibition will give the fans what they want. Now, an important asterisk here. Because it is an exhibition, no matter what happens, Mayweather's 50-0 record stays intact. The fighters, Tyson turning 59 in June and potentially stepping in the ring at the age of 60. How about that? That's a way to start a freaky Friday segment. Your thoughts on that? But let's get to some actual breaking news. 2 Venezuelan military aircrafts flew over a U.S. Navy ship yesterday in what is being deemed a highly provocative move. Obviously, I could not segue those two stories. A U.S. Navy ship conducting counter-drug operations. This, of course, coming after that attack on that drug shipment from the Trump administration. It was interfered with on Thursday when 2 Venezuelan military aircrafts flew over the vessel. The maneuver, described by the Pentagon as highly provocative, comes 2 days after the U.S. forces attacked a Tren de Aragua drug smuggling boat in the Caribbean Sea, killing 11 narco-terrorists. The Pentagon releasing a statement saying 2 Maduro regime military aircraft flew near a U.S. Navy vessel in international waters. This highly provocative move was designed to interfere with our counter narco-terror operations. The cartel running Venezuela is strongly advised not to pursue any further effort to obstruct, deter, or interfere with counter-narcotics and counter-terror operations carried out by the U.S. military. According to reports by CBS News, the aircraft involved armed F-16 fighter jets. The outlet reported that the USS Jason Dunham was the vessel being harassed. The Navy dispatched 8 ships, including 3 guided missile destroyers, to the region last month to counter drug smugglers. And we know that taking down of that ship earlier in the week, Rubio and Trump saying this is a deterrent. This is to show that we are not taking this lightly. That this is very serious. Now, the Trump administration has accused Venezuelan dictator Nicolas Maduro of working with the drug cartels to traffic narcotics laced with deadly fentanyl in the United States. As a matter of fact, the Justice Department last month placed a $50 million bounty on Maduro's head, citing his involvement with the cartels. All right. So that coming in late yesterday. Just a quick update from a story that we brought to you earlier in the week with the bringing down, I can't remember, what did Trump say? Shot down the ship. Okay. Yeah, why not? Well, we've got a couple that we just have to go through quickly. just kind of off-the-wall type stories, if you will. Then we're going to get into the RFK Jr. hearing. I'd love to hear your comments, your takeaways, because we have a couple different media outlets that did their takeaways, which I always kind of find interesting. We also, as I said, are going to hear from Callie Tucker. Don't forget, yesterday we talked with Notre Dame. Don't forget, coming up tomorrow is the Legends and Legacies Festival, starting at noon at Notre Dame High School. Look at all that fun, that family fun that you can have. Now, the event goes from noon to 6, shuts down for a little bit, for about an hour, and then you purchase tickets for the Seven Wonders, the Fleetwood Mac tribute concert, and that begins at 8 o'clock with fireworks to follow. Okay. I think we got all our ducks in a row. Let me take a break because we have about 5 or 6 stories right in a row that we're going to rip through that I think you're going to find really interesting. Again, your take on anything. There's looks like the Trump administration is making moves in the mayoral race. It is being reported that Mayor Adams didn't meet with Witkoff to maybe discuss a potential job. Cuomo says he doesn't want Trump in the race. Mamdani actually not only doesn't want him in the race, he called it a threat to democracy, and he challenged President Trump to a live, in-person debate. Your thoughts on who would win that? All right. Thanks for joining us on this Friday morning. We're just getting warmed up. Stay with us.
More cars, lower prices. Simmons Rockwell. Make car buying simple when you drive your deal at a Simmons Rockwell location near you, where you'll always find more cars at lower prices.
Going to go to the gym? The health club is not an option? Come to Hesselson today and see why swim spas and fitness systems can fit into anyone's yard and budget. 12-foot, 14-foot, 15-foot, 18-foot dual temperature hot tubs and swim spas are all on display in Hesselson's indoor and outdoor showroom. Try before you buy. 0% interest-free financing options are available on every Hesselson swim spa. Swim and exercise year-round and start making every day better. After 70 years, it's still fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
An albino baby buffalo was born.
Nearly 500 kilos of cocaine has been seized in a bust.
Thousands lined the pier at Seneca Harbor. Race weekend brought thousands to Watkins Glen International.
Hundreds and horseheads joined other cities around the country on Saturday for the No Kings protest.
Day one of the National Glider Competition. Severe flooding has caused major disruptions in parts of Steuben County.
Throughout the year, prison reform has become a priority around New York State. Dante Brown, Big Fox News, Southern Tier.
If you are one regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, you may be entitled to significant financial compensation.
I've used hair relaxers for years. I had no idea they could cause cancer.
Chemical hair relaxers and straighteners have been linked to serious conditions, including several types of cancer. If you used hair relaxers and have been diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, call us now. There's no fee unless we win your case. Call.
The Frankly Speaking roof cam with our beautiful view of historic Market Street. Thank you to Boss Security for bringing us that amazing view. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson's studio. Let's go to some viewer comments. Oh, we got a couple of other ones coming in here. Yeah, all right. We'll get to all of them. Why don't we do it right now? Okay. How about this one? I tried to get the picture. He sent a picture. I wasn't able to do it in time before the program began. But we got a good morning. We got a wave this morning. Brian sent us in one from Nuremberg, Germany. So, boy, oh boy, let's add that wave. We are getting international here. Yet again, it's been a week full of international waves. So thank you to Brian. Sorry I couldn't get your picture up, but I do appreciate it. All right, some other comments from viewers. First up, Mark writes, if I can get my screen to work here. Trump said that he thought RFK Jr. did a good job at the hearing, but I don't know. It looked to me that he was drilled pretty hard, and his future in politics might be done. It's interesting you say that, Mark. There's a piece that we'll probably get to from the New York Post that said that his ravings, is the word they use, prove he won't bring sanity back to public health. Chuck Todd suggesting that Trump's going to throw him overboard after the hearing. So interesting takeaway, Mark. I appreciate that. Comment from a different viewer. Ditto to the first viewer's text. 70 next month. Excuse me. So this viewer is turning 70 next month. Well, let us know. We'll wish you happy birthday. No vax yet. Only flu as a kid was during the Hong Kong outbreak. My takeaway from the RFK is hope he keeps up the good work against all the obviously big pharma, angry talking heads. Thank you very much. And comment from a different viewer. The interview on Secretary Kennedy was very contentious at times. The Democrats would demand yes or no answers and would not let him explain. Even some Republicans were also guilty of this. I don't know how the secretary took it. I would have walked out. The yes or no, it's kind of dirty pool, isn't it? And it's a story as old as time. But yes, it is very frustrating. And if the New York Post wants to call it raving, that's fine. But I think many of us would have blown up under that same scenario. So we're going to be talking about that after we get back from our interview with Callie Tucker. That's going to be in the next segment. I think you'll find it enjoyable. Her aunt, Tanya Tucker, she herself has quite a illustrious career. She was on The Voice. She headlines in Vegas. So I think you'll find it just a little bit of change of pace as we've been talking some heavy issues. Trump announced yesterday and celebrated that Delta Airlines revised its manuals to use Gulf of America for the body of water spanning Florida to Mexico, in line with his executive order and with our map that we're going to put pins in to show waves from all over the world that we've received, from Germany, from Switzerland, from the Philippines, from Egypt. We got some crazy waves coming in from all over, but our map included the Gulf of America. The president shared a screen grab on Truth Social of an apparent revision highlights airway manual on official Delta letterhead. Trump claiming he received it from a Delta captain. Some of the key changes: Gulf of Mexico has been switched to Gulf of America. And notice to air mission is revised to notice to airmen. Some Trump changes there. Delta official memo to employees. Big changes, Gulf of Mexico to Gulf of America, Trump wrote on Truth. And the liberals thought notice to airmen was racist. Too, they changed it to notice to air missions. Delta just changed it back to notice to airmen. Maybe they read the writing on the wall. There'd be another executive order. I think they are finally embracing MAGA, the commander-in-chief said in a kind of a victory lap, if you will. Now, Delta said it was simply complying with Federal Aviation Administration requirements. They didn't want to be completely lumped in with the MAGA movement. But nonetheless, Trump very excited about the changes. He also is going to sign an executive order today restoring, and I would love to hear your thoughts on this, the Department of War as the secondary title for the Department of Defense. Trump had argued in recent weeks that the old moniker sounds stronger and is much more appropriate for the cabinet-level agency, the Department of War. The order will instruct Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth to propose legislative and executive actions to make U.S. Department of War the official name of the Department of Defense. Hegseth will also be permitted to use the title Secretary of War in official correspondence, public communications, ceremonial settings, and in non-statutory documents. That looks pretty tough on your business card. Pete Hegseth, Secretary of War. Also, federal departments and agencies must recognize and accommodate the new secondary titles in their communications. Now, the War Department was known as such from 1789 to 1947. So your thoughts on the change? The United States military is the strongest and most lethal fighting force in the world, and the president believes this department should have a name that reflects its unmatched power and readiness to protect national interests. The White House said the name change will project strength and resolve and advance Trump's peace through strength mission. Trump argued defense is too defensive. We want to be defensive, but we want to be offensive too, if we have to be. He said, we're just going to do it. I'm sure Congress will go along if we need that. At least one lawmaker has already pledged to introduce legislation. Senator Mike Lee, of course, from Utah, saying, I'm drafting a bill to restore the Department of War to its original name, the only name that captures the full range of America's military capabilities. There you are. The Department of War, your thoughts on that? Also, how are we going to do this? How are we going to go? How am I doing? All right. Stories going through quickly, but that I want your opinion on. Then we're going to hear from our guest. Then when we come back, we're going to talk about RFK Jr.'s hearing. DeSantis has announced yesterday that the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals has stayed a lower court ruling against the state's Alligator Alcatraz migrant detention facility. Yes, this is like a tennis match back and forth with the judiciary, kind of to Jack's point yesterday, which was, why don't we try to, as Republicans, combat it? Governor DeSantis declared that, and this is what essentially happened here, that the mission continues at the state Alligator Alcatraz detention facility. This is what he said, and I quote, the media was giddy that somehow Alligator Alcatraz was, quote, shutting down, and we told them that that wasn't true. There have been illegal aliens continuing to be there and being removed and returning to their home country. But they ran with a narrative because some leftist judge ruled implausibly, that somehow Florida wasn't allowed to use our own property to help the federal government in this important mission because they didn't do an environmental impact statement. DeSantis added that the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals had stayed the ruling, saying Alligator Alcatraz is, in fact, like we've always said, open for business. The mission continues, and we're going to continue leading the way when it comes to immigration enforcement. So that's one in Trump's favor. That's why you're not hearing quite as much about it on the news, but a 2-1 ruling by a panel of judges on the U.S. Court of Appeals for the 11th Circuit. There is your update. Now, if you recall, last month, U.S. District Judge Kathleen Williams ordered the state of Florida and federal government to immediately stop expanding the facility and to start dismantling the fences. So this is, I know all week we've had the theme, which is kind of activist judges. I just want to double check because we should start playing a guessing game. When I mention a judge, and it's from a mainstream media outlet, this from CBS, I believe. If I mention a judge's name that found against Trump, we should play a game. We've got about 50-50 shot. Is it a Barack Obama appointee or is it a Biden appointee? Excuse me. Tongue tie this morning. Well, anyway, U.S. District Judge Kathleen Williams, Barack Obama appointed, ordered the state of Florida and federal government to immediately stop expanding the facility and to start dismantling it. But as we said, the appeals court found in favor of keeping Alligator Alcatraz open. Also, D.C. is now suing, because why not talk more kind of lawfare? D.C. is suing the Trump administration over illegal deployment of National Guard in Washington. The city of Washington has filed a lawsuit against Trump and the military over the deployment of the National Guard in the nation's capital. Trump, the suit said, quote, has run roughshod over a fundamental tenet of American democracy, and the military should not be involved in domestic law enforcement. The suit follows a ruling from a federal judge in California this week who found that the Trump administration violated an act, I'm not going to try to pronounce it, which bars the use of soldiers for civilian law enforcement activities. This is going to be interesting because what will probably happen is first they'll find an activist judge, they'll find in favor of Washington, and then it'll go back and forth like this tennis match that I keep mentioning. So there we are. Also, finally, since we kicked off with sports, Donald Trump plans to return to the U.S. Open Finals for the first time since 2015, when he was actually booed there in 2015. The source told the New York Post that Trump will be at the tennis tournament on Sunday for the men's singles final. There you go. If you're going to watch that, you may keep an eye open in the crowd for the president. I think they'll show him. Comment from a viewer: is the new detention center named the Louisiana lockup? I forget the name of the state. I don't know if there's a new detention center. Is there one in Louisiana? I can't remember. I had that list when we were having so much fun trying to name a New York State one. I'll see if I can find it. There was one that was, I don't see a Louisiana lockup, but that is definitely a good one. Yeah, I don't know. I'll do a little research. But yeah, okay, yes, you're right. Federal officials have also dubbed Camp 57 as Louisiana Lockup. All right. And that is, where's it? It's in Angola, Louisiana. There you are. All right. Keep those comments, keep those waves coming in. We're having a blast. Coming up next, Callie Tucker. After that interview, we're going to talk about the RFK Jr. hearing. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Already have some great commentary from you. I really appreciate it. Stay with us. We will be right back after this.
When you're online, don't forget to visit our Facebook page at Big Fox News. Catch up on news from the Twin Tiers. Vote on the daily question and hear about local events. All on Facebook.com/Big Fox News.
Steuben County Office for the Aging will be hosting a public hearing on Thursday, September 18th at First Presbyterian Church in Bath. This hearing is to review the 2026 annual implementation plan for the Older Americans Act and the Steuben County Office for the Aging. This public hearing will take place at 9 a.m. on Thursday, September 18th in the Fellowship Hall of the First Presbyterian Church in Bath. Copies of the plan will be available at the Office for the Aging.
After our accident, people told me I needed to slow down. I told them, I don't know how. I'm not only doing the things I used to do, I'm experiencing things I've only dreamed of. I have my freedom back. For the first time in a while, I can see all the colors in my life. So while some days might be harder than others, I know a place I can go where I can feel strong and supported.
Because with the help of my VA care team, I'm reaching new heights.
Take your healthcare career to new heights. Learn more at vacareers.va.gov/PSA.
In a few words. Urkel, glasses. Nerd. It pays to know your nerds. If you guys didn't get nerd with me sitting up here on this show, 25 words or less.
Weeknights at 5 and 5.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom. We are broadcasting from the Hesselson studio, and joining us virtually in that studio, Callie Tucker. Thanks so much for being on the program.
Hey, good to be here. Thanks for having me.
So there's a lot of scuttlebutt, for lack of a better word, about the video coming out today for Last Name. Tell us about it.
Oh, I'm so excited. So all of my videos that I've released have got, a semi-common theme, which is, a little bit of fantasy, a little bit of folklore and fairy tale. And it just so happened that the song just made so much sense to do the video and tell this particular story, one of which everyone will know, which is Cinderella.
Of course.
And Last Name is a song of not feeling the support of your family, and what better story than Cinderella to tell that, simply because the stepmother and stepsisters
of course
didn't support Cinderella, but in the end she became the princess and she rose to the top, and that's essentially what Last Name is about. So couldn't think of a better idea than Cinderella.
No, and the song's been out for a little bit, and we'll talk more about the video in a moment. But how's the reception to the song been? Everything I've read is it's getting rave reviews. I
am in total disbelief at some of the beautiful reviews that have been written about the song. Yeah. I couldn't have even I can't believe it got put into words as eloquently and as lovely as it has been, and people are very receptive to it, and I think it's inspiring and moving people in a way that I could only have dreamed of when I first wrote it. So really, really amazing response.
When you mentioned the story behind the song, so did that instantly pop in your head when you were creating the video that Cinderella is the perfect fit?
Absolutely not.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
I wrote this song in St. Louis, Missouri with a dear friend of mine of 15, 20 years. I don't even know. Known him for a very long time. And it's essentially his story about when he came out. He did not have the support and love of his family. And as we were writing this, and I watched him grow and become the very successful, happy, amazing person that he is. And I know that this story resonates with so many people, that don't have the support of their family, regardless of whatever situation that you're in. And it could be someone that's in foster care system, or someone that's in a marriage that doesn't feel like they share the same last name with somebody that supports and loves them. So it hopefully will resonate with everybody. But I did not have the idea of Cinderella in my head at all. In fact, we knew we wanted to make a music video, but sometimes it'll come to me and sometimes it doesn't. But I'm a very visual person, so I just had to sit in my own thoughts and feelings about what this song was and take myself out of the reason why we wrote it, which was his story, and kind of put it into a spotlight of like, okay, what could everybody relate to? And everybody knows Cinderella, so it just made so much sense when it finally clicked.
As someone that's never obviously made a music video, how long does something like that process take?
I mean, there's so much leading up to the day of, and all these music videos were so meticulously thought out and planned, because I put a lot of Easter eggs in each of my videos, and they all kind of piece together if you watch them all. But I'm all about the details, the fine details. So it takes at least, I would say, 2 months of just prep, to make sure you've got, making sure that everything is scheduled correctly, that things are timed out perfectly, and that goes down even to hair and makeup, it's very meticulous. But the day of the shooting, I mean, it's always usually 2 days of shooting, and it's always gone pretty seamless.
Wow, I had no idea. So you talk about the meaning or the story behind the song Last Name, and the video is out today. Has that caused confusion in your world, where people think that, obviously you have such a famous last name, that there's been an issue with your family supporting you?
Oh my gosh, that was another thing I was surprised at, because when we did our press release, we wanted to make sure, we thought we made it very clear, like, this is, fortunately not my story. Right. I've been supported and loved and encouraged and by my family. They're my biggest cheerleaders, and I'm very lucky in that regard. We thought maybe it might cause a little, controversy, but it's I love getting to talk about it, because it's not at all about my last name. It is about everyone else, and people that struggle with that issue. But I'm a very proud Tucker gal, and I love the ladies in my family, and I wouldn't be doing this if it wasn't for them. So I have a lot of pride for that. But no, it's not about me. I get why people thought it was. So. Yeah. My bad.
As long as your family's not mad at you, it doesn't matter, right? No. So it is obviously music royalty that we're talking about. Was a career in music for you, do you think, inevitable?
No, not at all. I could only have dreamed that it would have been. I was a kid growing up in it, and watched my mom and my aunt flourish, and all my cousins. They're fantastic and very talented artists themselves, doing their own thing. And Layla, my cousin Presley, and Grayson, and they're extremely talented. So I'm blessed to be a part of a family that all supports each other. And but no, I could only just strive for what I wanted to do this so bad, but there was no like, here's the door, walk right through this. Right. So everything I've done has been super grassroots at the end of the day. And I think speaking of my last name, I think people automatically assume that there's all this amazing opportunity that comes from that, and it's really not the case. You either have the talent or you don't. It really does. I mean, that's going to show. So if everything has been a little blood, sweat, and tears on my end, but it's been a great journey, and I'm grateful that I have such a cool lineage.
Of course.
That I would love to carry on. I would love to make that part of my legacy.
How would you describe your sound for people that are just tuning in and maybe haven't heard the new song, Last Name, excuse me?
How would I describe the song? Well,
no, your sound. I'm sorry, like your sound specifically.
My sound is I would say I'm a country singer,
Right.
and there's a lot of pop influences though, for sure within the sound. My producer that I worked with on this project, and my co-writer, they're out of LA and they do a ton of K-pop and very, very successful K-pop songwriters and producer. And it took me a long time to kind of figure out what my sound was living in Nashville, obviously growing up in country music, but I wanted to always push the envelope and have this edge to me and this, create my own path, forge that. And if it wasn't for them, I would not have been able to do it. So they really helped, because I love rock, I love hip hop, I love jazz, I love pop music. So being able to, express to them that I have so many different genres that I'd love to kind of tap into, but also keep my roots country. I think they did that beautifully. Sure. And so I definitely think that I'm not a traditional country singer, although I absolutely love traditional country and I grew up listening to that. I have to be true to myself and incorporate all these other styles that I think there is absolutely a place for me in country music within that.
When you were growing up and you were listening to music other than country, was it deemed rebellious?
Oh my gosh, I got in trouble for it.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah. So I remember my mom, we'd listen to, it was the country station, soft rock, or it would be, my mom would buy me the CDs of the oldies.
Okay.
And, just all the oldies songs you can think of. And I would just sit there and listen to them forever. So when I got into middle school, I heard Sublime, I heard Third Eye Blind, I heard Ludacris.
Completely different, yeah.
Completely different stuff. And so I was overwhelmed with excitement because I was like, what is this?
There was other music out there?
Yeah, there's other sounds. And so I was forever changed. And so there's not much music I don't like. I'm a fan of it all, but it really changed the way I became a songwriter and an artist.
But it's not like you ever left country. You just happened to experiment. Yeah.
I had to experiment. I had to experiment just a little bit.
Exactly.
Yeah, sure.
So I have to ask this because this sounds remarkable to me. What was it like playing on the Grand Ole Opry stage, but also you did it at such a young age, right? 18?
I did, and it was a beautiful invitation by my aunt.
Mm-hmm.
It was a birthday gift, actually.
Yeah.
So I got to go on there. It was my 18th birthday, the day of March 8th, and I got to perform San Antonio Stroll with her on the stage, and that was really special. So it wasn't, an opportunity where I got to sing my own songs, but it definitely was a magical moment, and it just fired that fuel in me that I want to come back here with my own material and get to perform again. It was really neat.
Do you feel that it was better maybe at the age of 18 to do that the nerves wouldn't be as, because I would feel like the nerves right now would be almost overwhelming.
Now, as a longtime seasoned performer, I've been out here in Vegas and I performed my whole life, and did the Voice, and I've done all those things. It definitely wouldn't scare me as much. I was happy to have had that experience on the Grand Ole Opry because that is a totally different honor to be on that. So I think I would go into that, with as much confidence as I possibly could, but still with nerves. Absolutely. You're not gonna what are you gonna
I know.
The Grand Ole Opry.
I know everybody I've talked to that played, it doesn't matter how long they've been in the business, they always say that they're a nervous wreck before they go on.
Oh my gosh. I can't say that I'm that cool that I wouldn't be. I would be very nervous. And,
I feel like you'd be disingenuous if you said no, I'm fine. I would be fine. Everybody
I'm not
would.
that cool.
Yeah, they'd call you out for it. But you mentioned The Voice. Of course, people remember you from The Voice. What was that experience like for you?
It was life-changing. If it wasn't for The Voice, I would not be in the position that I am now. So, there's just steps and steps and steps that you step up in as an artist and a songwriter, and different levels. And, I had no expectations going into it. I remember my mom calling me saying, hey, your sister-in-law is going to go to Vegas before I lived here, to audition for The Voice. I think you should go and try. And I was like, any excuse to go to Vegas and party, I'm there.
Right.
I was one of the first 10 in line. I got there at 3 a.m., did the cattle call, did that audition, got through that round, and then just continued on there's several auditions before you actually make the show. So I got on the show and made Team Blake, and I was paired with a guy named Ryan White Maloney, who was my battle partner. And after the show, we were very, very good friends, and we stayed friends after the show. He encouraged me to move to Las Vegas that same year, and I did. I just packed up what I could in my car and drove out, and it's been the most life-changing thing I could have done for my career. So if it wasn't for The Voice, if it wasn't for Ryan, I wouldn't have, met my producer. I wouldn't have gotten the opportunity to perform my hair nightly for so many years and hone my craft, build my following, my fan base, and be able to, take this team that I built and these songs that we've created and go back to Nashville with, as Ryan, actually, I stole this line from him. He's like, I bring a grenade to a knife fight. So.
Perfect. Now, you mentioned you do play in Vegas. You're playing constantly. Do you think that's different than maybe the experience some people have, going on tour and the grind of the tour? You have a really unique position, I think, in a lot of ways, more benefits of having just being in Vegas, right?
I mean, both are incredible, and we're doing more touring dates than ever, which is really exciting. In fact, I just opened for my aunt in Oregon, which was... We didn't even schedule that. It was the casino that wanted to bring us together. It was really magical.
Yeah.
So more tour dates to come, but I have been based here in Las Vegas doing this grind for a while. And I call it a grind because it is 5, 6, 7 days a week. And I perform for some of the most amazing venues out here in the last several years. And I would say they're longer shows, so they are more taxing. And I play solo, so it's the weight of the whole show is just really on me. Like there's no band. My touring shows, there's a band and there's space for movement and stuff, but I don't know. I really like it both. And like I said, being here in Vegas has helped me build that fan base because there's so many people from all over the world that come here. And they take my show on their phone, or they follow me on social media, and they take it back with them, and they share and they subscribe and like and all that stuff, and stream my music, and they do become lifelong friends and followers that help independent artists. So the touring in the U.S. has been wonderful, but not enough. I want to do more.
Right. I just think it's interesting because Vegas, the world comes to you instead of you having to go to the world. Do you know?
That's true. That is very true. Yeah. And there's absolute benefits of it. I think I just really enjoy being on the road. I love traveling. Yeah. So.
But you mentioned that you kind of fell in love with Vegas in general. What made Vegas so special for you at the beginning?
Oh man, the opportunity to perform every night, make a living doing it, and because in Nashville, I was a songwriter. I was doing writer rounds. I was doing showcases, but I was having to bartend and cocktail waitress, simultaneously. So it was a real juggle. Mm-hmm. Here, my full-time job, I guess you call it that, is singing. I sing nightly for these amazing venues out here, and it's just they really value live entertainment, and they take really good care of us, and love the weather, and I people think you live on the Strip, like no, we all have homes outside of the Strip, and it's really comfortable, and the weather's nice, and we don't have any natural disasters. So I don't know, it is a wonderful place to live. I'll probably always have a house here and house in Nashville, hopefully, and but also get to travel and tour, and that's the dream.
And we're talking about the new Cinderella-themed music video for Last Name. It's out today. Before we go, because I know we're near Watkins Glen, and we've got a lot of big NASCAR fans, and you sang in front of a NASCAR crowd, 80,000 racing fans, and arguably one of the most difficult songs, the national anthem. What does that feel like for you? What kind of pressure is that for you?
I've sang the songs my whole life since I was a kid. Growing up, we're always trying to, sing. It's always been really special to me. NASCAR was fabulous. I wasn't nervous at all until you get on the platform and stage, and the lady in the front, she goes, 1 minute.
Oh.
20 seconds. 10, 9. And so it's like, that's the worst part of it. But as cheesy as it sounds, and it does sound cheesy, but put myself in that moment of like, gosh, this is for everybody that gave our life, their lives for our country, and like that continue to do so. And I'm not brave enough to do that. So God bless them. And I know so many veterans out here in Las Vegas, and it just means so much to me to be able to share in that moment with everybody, because it is such a united moment with the crowd, and with their people putting their hands on their heart. I love it. It is very difficult, and I've been asked to sing that song really early in the morning.
Yeah.
Love it. So it's difficult, but there is a lot of pride that comes with singing it, and I try to do it justice, and I don't always do, but it is a hard song. It's a lot of pressure.
I would think so. A lot of pressure. Well, again, the new video is out for Last Name out today. Where can people find out more about you? I know you have a social media presence. Obviously, everybody does. But where's the best place to find the video and more about you?
The best place to go is my website. It's CaliTucker.com. That's C-A-L-I, just like California. You've got all the links to my social media with Instagram, TikTok, and then YouTube, of course, which you can find all of my music videos. So that's the central location to find me anywhere and everywhere.
Well, perfect. What's next? That's how we'll wrap up.
Next is continue to perform, book more dates in the U.S., and next year we'll have some more music and more music videos.
Well, let's talk to you then, okay? We'll do it again.
Love it.
All right. Well, thanks so much, and we'll be right back with Frankly Speaking. Stay with us.
Hi, this is Tom Witzel, owner of Hesselson's in Amara Heights. At Hesselson's, we care about your well-being and overall health, whether it's relieving stress, muscle recovery, increasing circulation, or just revitalizing the body. Hesselson's now has 2 complete line of infrared and traditional rock saunas in our new and expanded showroom. Come in today and see why owning a sauna is a start of your new healthy lifestyle. Hesselson's is still locally and family owned and operated in Amara Heights. After 70 years, it's still fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
No matter where you are, too many kids are going hungry and without. Together, we can help children thrive. Feed the Children is committed to creating an America and a world where no child goes to bed hungry.
Fox 10 p.m. News is the first primetime local news for the Twin Tiers. Our reporters, Haley and Dante, scour the Southern Tier to bring you up-to-date news regarding local businesses, economics, and how national decisions impact our area. If you're not near a TV, don't worry. You can also catch our 10 p.m. news live on WYDCTV.com/livestream. Don't miss Big Fox 10 p.m. news on WYDC, on TV, or our website.
If you have one regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, you may be entitled to significant financial compensation.
I've used hair relaxers for years. I had no idea they could cause cancer.
Chemical hair relaxers and straighteners have been linked to serious conditions, including several types of cancer. If you used hair relaxers and have been diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, call us now. There's no fee unless we win your case. Call today.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. And we want to thank Callie Tucker for being on the program this morning. It was nice to talk with her, and best of luck on her new video. Hey, I wanted to mention real quickly for our friends in Hornell, exciting news. I mentioned it yesterday. I will be returning, and it's an honor, to The Pulse with Mayor John Buckley, and that's on WLEA, and that's at 1 o'clock on Saturday and 1 o'clock on Sunday. So to all our friends in the Hornell area that can tune in to WLEA, don't miss it. We always have a blast. The mayor does a great job asking all the hot topics of the day. So I look forward to it. I can't wait to see what we'll be discussing. But again, on Saturday and Sunday at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, tune in to The Pulse with Mayor John Buckley. Okay, let's go to some viewer comments. Mark writes in, Department of War, I like it. And alligator Alcatraz is a win for Trump and ICE. I agree. The court finding in favor of alligator Alcatraz. It's like I said, it's a tennis match back and forth with these courts. I think a lot of us kind of expected this decision. It's not as if this was uncharted territory. It used to be an airport, if I'm not mistaken. So it's not as if it was untouched land. And I'm with you. The Department of War. Pete Hegseth already wanted this job, and he's doing a good job. You know, he had some few hitches at the beginning, but this was a man that was coming in to bring back the warrior mentality, right? And now his business card is going to say Department of War, or Secretary of War, excuse me. That's a pretty cool business card. Comment from a different viewer. More than one of the RFK Jr. yes-no questioners talked about the $500 million taken away from Big Pharma. Tell us directly who is pulling their strings, bringing up charts and graphs. They spoke like they were on the payroll or major stockholders. And that's one of the interesting, and I think why a lot of people supported RFK Jr. Is because he wasn't beholden to Big Pharma. So it's interesting to see these people that have screamed from the rooftops anti-Big Pharma for as long as we can remember now seem to be playing in their favor. Now, as I mentioned, we are going to talk about this. Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. faced sharp questioning from both Democrats and Republicans during what could be described as contentious or tense in a Senate hearing because they're saying turmoil. You know, there's always those words that the media uses, chaos or turmoil. Turmoil that has gripped the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention and his moves to transform U.S. vaccine policies. So we're going to kick off the next segment because I already have to take a break. Sorry, I ran long with Callie. Just kind of interesting. She had so many topics that I found worth mentioning that I wanted to ask. So when we come back, we'll talk about this. We've already gotten great commentary from you. Keep that coming in. We're going to, from Mediaite and CNN, the 5 most shocking moments or the 5 takeaways. But I want to hear, most importantly, your takeaway. We're also going to hear, though I'm going to have to edit it a little bit, we're going to hear J.D. Vance's takeaway as well. Several Republicans on the committee did echo their Democrat colleagues' concerns about the CDC turmoil. I will say, when you read that line, does it ever go the other way? Let's say during the Biden administration, or let's say during this administration. Doesn't matter. Would you ever read several Democrats on the committee echoed their Republican colleagues' concerns? No. Not if it's against someone in this administration. So, I don't know. Sometimes I think Republicans can play into the hands, unfortunately, of the media and of their Democrat colleagues, as it said here. Kennedy faced bipartisan criticism. See, that's the back and forth through the whole piece. This from the Washington Post, I believe. For replacing a vaccine advisory panel with handpicked critics of vaccines. And senators from both parties sounded the alarm over possible changes to the routine childhood immunization schedule. He rejected assertions that he was taking vaccines away, even as senators pointed to examples of immunocompromised people being denied COVID vaccines under a new federal limit on who can get them. Anyway, again, the back and forth, they love saying bipartisan hatred for someone that's in the Trump administration. We'll give you the takeaways. We are running a little bit late, so we may wrap up the next hour for you. Want to send in your comments with that and a couple other quick announcements, and then we'll kick off hour number 2. Yes, already hour number 2 with some of those takeaways from the RFK Jr. hearing. We also have a lot of New York State issues to get to that I think you're really going to find interesting. As you know, Assemblyman Phil Palmisano has been very busy. He's making the tour around the state. And we read his quote yesterday, which was so fantastic, highlighting the disastrous, detrimental green energy policies of Governor Hochul and one-party rule in Albany. So we'll talk about that in the next hour as well. Stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
When you're online, don't forget to visit our Facebook page at Big Fox News. Catch up on news from the Twin Tiers. Vote on the daily question and hear about local events. All on Facebook.com/Big Fox News.
Haley Livingston, Big Fox News, Southern Tier.
Fox Sports app isn't just any sports app. It's your sports app.
For the touchdown!
Yeah, yours. Your teams. Your highlights. Your scores. Your stories. Just choose your favorites to get more of what you want.
To the end zone!
And of course, stream your teams live. The best part is free with your pay TV subscription. Grab your Fox Sports app today.
If you or a loved one regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, you may be entitled to significant financial compensation.
I've used hair relaxers for years. I had no idea they could cause cancer.
Chemical hair relaxers and straighteners have been linked to serious conditions, including several types of cancer. If you used hair relaxers and have been diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, call us now. There's no fee unless we win your case. Call today.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson's studio. Here's how we're going to do it, because we're almost out of time for this hour. Next hour, we're going to talk about RFK Jr.'s hearing. We're going to talk about New York State issues. Of course, we got a Climate Fact Friday from Bob. We'll save that for the top of the hour, as you know I do. And that's not fair to you. But them's are the breaks. As I mentioned yesterday on the program, and I can't thank you enough, so many people sent in because they knew that they wanted to support this, I think, amazing gesture, a long time coming gesture, and that is Dwayne Eddy having a permanent place in Corning. And that is a historic marker dedication ceremony. That's coming up during Harvest Fest on September 20th. If you'd like to donate and get your name in the commemorative program to show your support for this, which has been a long time coming, you see corningtwang.com. You can find out all the ways to donate there, and then your name will be in that commemorative program, and we'll be handing that out during what is going to be a very special ceremony with a lot of special guests, and your name will be in a program filled with specific quotes from really big names that look up to Dwayne Eddy, who has since passed, of course, but looked up to Dwayne Eddy. And they specifically sent in when they heard about our ceremony. So if you'd like to do that, corningtwang.com, and we'd love to have you be a part of the celebration. Okay, coming up in the next hour, a lot to talk about. Again, I know I just talked about it in the last segment, but I will be on the Pulse again for all of our friends in Hornell. Tune into WLEA on Saturday or Sunday at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and I'll be joining, the host of the Pulse, Mayor John Buckley. I always look forward to doing that program. Can't wait to see what we're going to discuss. A lot of comments coming in. We're going to read them as soon as we come back. Stay with us. Hour number 1 in the books. Hour number 2 moments away.
What better way to start or end every day than relaxing in your very own Hesselson's hot tub? Massage therapy, relaxation, stress reliever, pain management, soothing muscles, or just spending time with a loved one. Hot water therapy really does make every day better. Hesselson's has been a part of this great community for over 70 years, still being locally owned and operated. So make the drive to Hesselson's and start making your path to a better life today. And after 70 years, it's still fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
When you're online, don't forget to visit our Facebook page at Big Fox News. Catch up on news from the Twin Tiers. Vote on the daily question and hear about local events. All on Facebook.com/Big Fox News.
Steuben County Office for the Aging will be hosting a public hearing on Thursday, September 18th at First Presbyterian Church in Bath. This hearing is to review the 2026 annual implementation plan for the Older Americans Act and the Steuben County Office for the Aging. This public hearing will take place at 9 a.m. on Thursday, September 18th in the Fellowship Hall of the First Presbyterian Church in Bath. Copies of the plan will be available at the Office for the Aging.
Dante Brown, Big Fox.
It is our number 2 of Frankly Speaking as we broadcast live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. We've got so many viewer comments to get to. One being Climate Fact Friday with Bob. That's coming up after the other comments. So get ready, buckle in, and then we're going to talk about RFK Jr. Comment from a viewer. Not only big pharma companies put a twinkle in the eyes of Democrats, but I also suspect the green energy companies do as well. I would agree. There's a lot of money to be had there. A lot of money. Mark writes in some good news about New York State. All right. You can now use a crossbow during regular bow season from day 1 till the end. Yes, we brought that. We couldn't believe it. Still kind of surprised. We brought that story to you, but it was actually a viewer who brought it to our attention, and we had that story the day that it broke. So very, really, I'm still kind of surprised by it. I'm not going to lie. Surprised that she signed it into law. Surprised it ever got through Albany. But great news for all those hunters out there that can use their crossbows. I know a lot of people love crossbows. Use it for the full bow season. Jack says, I watched the entire painful to watch RFK badgering. I was grateful for a few good comments that served as breaks. Yeah, it was painful, and we'll go through the takeaways from more leftist outlets, but that's why I appreciate everybody writing in, because you've had the important takes, the important takeaways. That's simply put. All right, let's do it. Good morning, Frank, from Climate Fact Friday, Bob. I always read Bob's sight unseen, and that could be trouble. Let's see if there's any big words. We'll see. This week, I would like to express our concerns about climate change policies and national security. It is not climate change that is the big threat to our nation. The climate change policies, climate alarmists, and some military appointees are the threat to national security. The U.S. climate policies are only helping some countries that are hostile to us. We are seeing more and more solar farms and wind turbine farms being installed on real farmland. Almost all these solar panels and wind turbines are manufactured in China. Here's the problem I see. We're installing these unreliable sources of energy just because of some political policies and virtue signaling. Climate alarmists have been brainwashed by the media and politicians. China gets a majority of coal, gas, and oil from Russia. We all know about the summit this past week between China, Russia, and North Korea. All dictatorships. So we are putting our money into energy sources manufactured by Russian coal, oil, and gas, and we purchase these so-called green energy sources that make our electrical power grids very unreliable and subject to sabotage. This is a national security threat. This is China and Russia's plan to weaken our country. Thanks to the Trump administration, we are waking up to these facts. Have a great football kickoff weekend. Thank you. Climate Fact Friday, Bob. You are exactly right. If you recall, we had this story, and it's not just a one-off story. It happened numerous times, where these solar panels that they were installing, there was found to be an extra piece that could be used either for spying purposes or shutting down our grid. That's not hyperbole, or it's not conspiracy theorists. This is actually proven fact. Of course, it wasn't reported by the mainstream media, but it was something that was brought to us numerous instances where it was kind of written off as no big deal. Oh, that's China again, but is much more nefarious than that. So I would agree exactly with you, Climate Fact Friday, Bob, because after that summit, we see that they want to be the world superpowers, and they will stop at nothing to do that. And they're probably laughing at us as we buy their products to become green, as they have no problem using coal, gas, and oil that they're getting from Russia, making Russia more powerful, China more powerful, etc. So I really appreciate that. They're always good. This was an extra special one, and we thank you as always, Climate Fact Friday, Bob. I don't want to jump ahead, but to just echo kind of what you were saying, the Trump administration going after Hochul and the climate change super fund. That's, if you recall, that's where New York State said, hey, thank you, gas business. Thank you so much for following all of our rules, jumping through all the hoops and the red tape for decades. You followed everything we asked you to do. But you're no longer in vogue, so we are going to fine you for what you did 10, 20 years ago, even though, again, all above board at the time. We're going to fine you billions of dollars to pay for some green energy pie in the sky. Thank you. So that also signals to other businesses, don't come to New York. It also just reeks when it comes to lawsuits. But we'll talk about that a little bit because I keep promising we're going to talk about RFK Jr.'s hearing. So Mediaite writes, the 5 most shocking moments. Number 1 is not shocking whatsoever, and that's protesters kick off the hearing. Always keep in mind, when protesters are at a hearing and they are disruptive and they have signs or they're dressed crazy, this was all planned. This is all known about in advance, not by Kennedy. It was known by somebody most likely on that panel, most likely a Democrat, because it's not just like you and I can sit at one of these hearings if we are the first to attend. I mean, it's ticketed. It's, you go through security. So these are all fake protests, though real in their disruptive manner. They're all known to be happening. It's a little bit of WWE-esque, if you will, a little wrestling-esque, with the pre-planned, okayed, wink, wink, nudge, nudge by certain senators. I guess one protester accused him of killing millions. It was unclear what else the protester said, but she made references to authorization, and it takes 3 months. Number 2, Senate Republicans trap Kennedy with Nobel Peace Prize question. Bill Cassidy, also a physician and vaccine advocate, asked Kennedy whether he agreed that Trump should be awarded the Nobel Peace Prize for his work on Operation Warp Speed, which of course brought us the COVID-19 vaccine quickly. Kennedy said he did agree, only for Cassidy to reveal the apparent trap he had laid for him, saying, quote, "Let me ask you, but you just told Senator Bennett that the COVID vaccine killed more people than COVID," leading to a heated exchange. At one point, Kennedy accused the Republican lawmaker of making a speech against him rather than asking questions. And I know Republicans had real questions. I understand it. But boy, it plays in the hands of the media, doesn't it? Like I had that piece earlier. Everything was about bipartisan anger. Republicans joining their Democrat colleagues in their hatred. Anyway, 3, Kennedy claims he fired CDC director because she said she's not trustworthy. During an exchange with Warren, Kennedy claimed that Menarez was fired from the CDC after she admitted to him that she was not trustworthy. I told her that she had to resign because I asked her, "Are you a trustworthy person?" And she said no. So if you had an employee who told you they were not trustworthy, would you ask them to resign, Senator? Earning some stifled chuckles from Democrats. Kennedy claimed Menarez was lying about the pressure on vaccines he was supposedly putting on her, saying he never had a private meeting with her, and witnesses can corroborate that her statements about her firing were false. Number 4, how can you be that ignorant? Kennedy admits he doesn't know number of COVID deaths. Not good for Kennedy on this one. Senator Mark Warner was incensed to learn Kennedy does not know the number of people who died during the COVID-19 pandemic. He said, in no uncertain terms, "I don't know how many died." Warner asked whether the COVID vaccine prevented deaths, and Kennedy said he'd need to look at the data. So, Mr. Chairman, the Secretary of Health and Human Services doesn't know how many Americans died from COVID, doesn't know if the vaccine helped prevent any deaths, and you are sitting as Secretary of Health and Human Services. How can you be that ignorant? So, again, this hearing was more of a grandstanding and more of a show. Then Kennedy and Warren got a little personal. Kennedy had plenty of dust up with lawmakers, but an exchange with Warren got a little personal as she accused him of lying about vaccine access while he made reference to political donations she'd received from pharmaceutical companies. Warren accused Kennedy of limiting access to the COVID vaccine thanks to a narrower recommendation from the FDA. The new guidance recommends the vaccine for people 65 and older, as well as people ages 5 to 64 who have underlying conditions. Kennedy said, "I never promised that I was going to recommend products for which there is no indication. And I know you've taken $855,000 from pharmaceutical companies, Senator." Warren shot back, "Do you hold up a big sign saying that you were lying when you said that? Because you are the one who said that you would not take them away." So not denying the fact that she had that money. CNN, their 5 takeaways. Again, it's coming from a left-leaning group, but it's important because we've read your comments. We want to see what they had to say. But they love the fact, too, that Republicans went after him. Senators tried to pit Kennedy against Trump. They love that at CNN, so that was number 1. Republican politicians often speak to the audience of one, subtly gearing their comments toward Trump. But it was both Republican and Democrats employing this tactic yesterday. A series of senators seemed to try to pit Kennedy against the president, suggesting Kennedy was undermining Trump and the success of Operation Warp Speed. That's what we mentioned earlier. So they love that. Again, this was, and whatever you think about this, I mean, Republicans had valid questions, but this was a perfect opportunity for the media to talk about this bipartisan hate. Other Republicans deliver brushbacks to Kennedy. That was number 2. Others did it more gently, but in ways that suggest Kennedy should be careful. Perhaps most surprising was Senator John Barrasso of Wyoming, saying, Secretary of Kennedy, in your confirmation hearings, you promised to uphold the highest standards for vaccine. Since then, I have grown deeply concerned. Okay. Number 3, Kennedy was hugely combative. Would you agree with that statement from CNN? It's difficult to overstate how combative Kennedy was during the hearing, whether that's because of the pressure he's under or because he deduced that that's what Trump would like to see. It was striking. After Cassidy pressed him on Operation Warp Speed, Kennedy responded, is this a question, Senator Cassidy, or is this a speech that you don't want me to answer? Kennedy accused Democrats on the committee of making stuff up. He told one, I don't know what you're talking about. He accused another one of talking gibberish. And number 4 in the takeaways, Kennedy struggled to account for his promise on vaccine access. All right, and where is number 5? Okay, number 5 is what to watch next. One exchange early in the hearing will surely be revisited. Kennedy was asked to respond to the recent ousted CDC director, Dr. Susan Menarez's claim about him. She wrote that during a meeting in late August with Kennedy, she was told to pre-approve the recommendations of a vaccine advisory committee to which Kennedy had recently appointed some vaccine critics. Kennedy not only flatly denied it, but accused Menarez of lying, as I mentioned earlier. So that will be something that they believe will come back up in the news. Now, J.D. Vance, the Vice President of the United States, took to Twitter and was not necessarily happy with how the hearing went. Senator Ron Wyden pressed Kennedy during the hearing, accusing him of endangering children with reckless decisions and conspiracy-driven policies, adding that he believed Kennedy had no regrets about a fundamentally cruel agenda. Kennedy countering that Wyden's decades in office, chronic disease rates climbed to 76%. That's when the vice president went to Twitter, went to X, saying, when I see all these senators trying to lecture and gotcha Bobby Kennedy today, all I can think is you all support off-label, untested, and irreversible hormone therapies for children, mutilating our kids and enriching big pharma. You are full of baloney, and everyone knows it. Senator Kennedy reposting the tweet and saying, thank you, J.D. Vance. You put your finger squarely on the preeminent problem. Other White House voices chimed in to support Senator Kennedy after the fiery hearing. Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt wrote, Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is taking flack because he's over the target. The Trump administration is addressing root causes of chronic disease, embracing transparency in government, and championing gold standard science. Only the Democrats could attack that common sense effort. Deputy White House Chief of Staff Taylor Budwick said Democrats are getting absolutely torched by Kennedy. They seem uninterested in health or human services, just parrots of a failed medical orthodoxy that has made America less healthy. Great hearing and preparation by the secretary. So Chuck Todd, for whatever it's worth, was on CNN, political commentator Chuck Todd. He thinks this will be the end of Kennedy. Your thoughts on that? Todd said, the right likes to dunk on Democrats sometimes when they're on the wrong side of an 80-20 issue, right? And sometimes some of those criticisms are correct when it comes to some of those conversations about law and order and culture and stuff like this. This is an 80-20 issue, vaccines. How do you know it's an 80-20 issue? Because you have John Thune and John Barrasso. These are people who never want to be seen going against Trump in any way. It was clever the way both Cassidy and Barrasso, in order to criticize Kennedy, they had to praise the president. So what he says is that Trump will throw Kennedy overboard. And here's the thing. There are people at the White House who have been alarmed by Kennedy. And it's Trump that says, he's afraid of losing the Kennedy constituency. And he's just been letting Kennedy go. At some point, this will break. And I do think he throws Kennedy overboard. But, he loves his trophy. And for him, the trophy is, I got a Kennedy, right? That's the biggest problem they're running into. There are plenty of people in the White House that know this guy's a disaster. Not just politically, this guy's a disaster for all the reasons we've been laying out here. Howard Dean, Screaming Dean. Remember Howard Dean? Well, I haven't heard that name in a while. Could have been president. till he got the screaming. I don't know if he could have been president or not, but he was on his way. Former Democrat National Committee Chairman Howard Dean claimed on MSNBC that Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s stance on vaccines could be the wedge issue that begins to literally divide the United States. He's never been fit for the job. He's a crackpot. But here's the interesting thing about this. I've been thinking about this during the day. This is possibly the wedge issue that begins to literally divide the United States as a result of his nuttiness. And as a result of the victims of his nuttiness, which are going to be children, lots of children. The states of the West Coast, Washington, Oregon, and California have essentially put together their own CDC. I think New England is going to join them. Massachusetts has talked about it already. I wouldn't be surprised if New York and some other places like Pennsylvania join them. So you're going to have essentially two authorities, the CDC run by a crackpot, and then you're going to have a lot of states ignoring the federal government and making their own rules about all this stuff. This is a big divide and is a big change in the way the government has been operating in the U.S. for the last 100 years. Here's the other interesting thing. So yesterday, the Surgeon General, backed up by the governor of Florida, said that they were getting rid of all vaccine mandates. Now, would you take your children to Disney World if you thought they might be exposed to whooping cough? Even people who have been vaccinated can become troubled and can spread the disease if they're in a huge tank of people who have no vaccines. The New York Post editorial board believes that the testimony made one thing crystal clear, quote, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. won't be restoring sanity to our public health bureaucracies, despite as much as it's needed. In a finance committee grilling, we know about that, when Senator Bernie Sanders, no fan of the pharmaceutical industry himself, pressed him on his criticism of major medical organizations that disagree with him on vaccines, Kennedy raved that they were bought and paid for by Big Pharma. I think there is a point to that. I know the New York Post is downplaying it. But anyway, it boils down to them saying the more Kennedy opens his mouth, the more obvious it becomes that letting him call the shots is just trading one extreme for another. So your thoughts on that? We are going to move along from that. I know it is a major issue, but we do have a lot to cover, and we're running late, and we don't have a whole lot of time, and I want to talk about New York State issues. So stay with us. We will be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
More cars, lower prices. Simmons Rockwell. Make car buying simple when you drive your deal at a Simmons Rockwell location near you, where you'll always find more cars at lower prices.
You can just keep watching and scrolling, and the world will still feel like it's falling apart.
Widespread missile highest hospitalization evacuation in the West.
Or you can take action by joining a movement that's creating real and lasting change instead. Partnering with communities around the globe to help uproot poverty and plant seeds of hope for a brighter tomorrow. Because at World Vision, we believe that no situation is hopeless. Join a movement that's changing the world for good.
When you're online, don't forget to visit our Facebook page at Big Fox News. Catch up on news from the Twin Tiers. Check out our newsreels and hear about local events. All on Facebook.com/Big Fox News.
If you are one regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, you may be entitled to significant financial compensation.
I've used hair relaxers for years. I had no idea they could cause cancer.
Chemical hair relaxers and straighteners have been linked to serious conditions, including several types of cancer. If you used hair relaxers and have been diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, call us now. There's no fee unless we win your case. Call today.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. I have not done the best job of, I think, documenting all the waves, and I apologize if I missed anybody, but I know this is a little low for how many comments and how many people walk by. But we'll get to your comments now. Like I mentioned earlier, Kennedy was not allowed to fully explain his answers, but if nothing else, he was honest. Yes, I think that's a good point. The yes or no, it's a story as old as time. It's, like I said, I think it's a little dirty pool. Both sides use it. You've seen it in movies at trials. It's a little bit obnoxious, but effective. Comment from a different viewer. When Kennedy tried to answer questions, they would talk over him, especially when he tried to bring up the statement from the inventor of RNA technology and his observations. Yes, it was very much a grandstanding show trial, if you will. Comment from a different viewer. I watched the Kennedy hearings. Bernie Sanders said it best. Everybody, Republicans and Democrats, take big money from Big Pharma. Kennedy is head and shoulders above the room in terms of medical knowledge. Thank you. Ken writes in, I especially appreciated Bernie Sanders. That's two people. I especially appreciated Bernie Sanders admitting that almost all politicians on both sides of the aisle receive money and are beholden to Big Pharma. It's no wonder that all Democrats and some Republicans are trying to shut RFK Jr. down. Which again makes me ask the question, who do most politicians work for, us or themselves? That's a great question, Ken, and a great comment. I appreciate that. Oh, here's a nice one. Good morning. Keep up the good work. With a wave. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I hope you have a good morning as well. The Kennedy hearing. Oh, did we get a bonus? And we have a couple waves. A couple of waves and have a great weekend. I think we got a bonus. We did. Karen quote of the week. The Kennedy hearings. Karen can't help herself, but another quote. I love it. You know, it's a special week, and it's even a shortened week with Labor Day, and we're getting two quotes. Here we go. From Upton Sinclair. This made her think of this quote from the Kennedy hearings. It is difficult to get a man to understand something when his salary depends on his not understanding. Great. First of all, perfect. Perfect for the hearings. And, of course, spot on from Upton Sinclair. Again, Karen thought of this. We get two quotes this week from Karen. It is not difficult to get a man to understand something when his salary depends on his not understanding. Thank you, Karen. Appreciate that. Here's something before we move to New York State issues, and you can continue to weigh in on the Kennedy hearings, please. We just got a lot to cover and a short time to get there. Before we take a break and move on to New York State issues, Mitch McConnell, no fan of Trump. He believes Trump's second presidency is, quote, most dangerous period since Second World War. The world during Donald Trump's second presidency has entered a period of danger with, quote, certain similarities to the 30s, according to Mitch McConnell. He made the comments primarily in reference to tariffs and foreign affairs in a wide-ranging interview with the Lexington Herald leader published earlier in the week. Remember, he's still got 2 years in his final year in office, calling it, quote, the most dangerous period since before World War II. He was openly critical of Trump's fixation with trade tariffs, which he likened to the isolationist policies of the U.S. in the 30s that historians say hastened a global depression that paved the path to conflict. Does McConnell may remember that from, he may be able to weigh in on the 30s. He may have been there. But while decrying the lack of U.S. preparedness to confront authoritarian regimes abroad, the 83-year-old McConnell, a senator since 1985 and leader of Republicans in the chamber for a record 18 years until he stood down earlier this year, then announced his upcoming retirement, did not discuss the Trump administration's own moves towards authoritarianism. Listen to how that piece had to put words in his mouth. So he says all these kind of negative things about Trump, but he didn't add that Trump is moving to authoritarianism. That's the media for you. That is just presented as fact now. Okay, when we come back, some very important New York State issues. Quickly on the mayor's race, just because there's some really breaking news there. It does sound like Mayor Adams met with Witkoff in the Trump administration to talk about a potential job. We had heard first reported yesterday that it could be a job with HUD, and that would be for him to step away from the mayor's race. Also, the kind of the ask, if you will, for Silwa to step down. He has refused to, but that means that the Trump administration kind of jockeying for Cuomo for some reason, maybe thinking that Cuomo, you know it's going to be bad what you get, but you know what you get with him. And when it comes to Mamdani, it could be the destruction of New York City. So there's a little bit of that there. But that's kind of an interesting move. We're going to dive a little more in depth on that. But let's take a short break. By the way, keep those comments, keep those waves coming in. We've had some great comments this morning. I appreciate your commentary on the RFK Jr. hearing. You can continue to weigh in. I love it. So stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
William Attar has been a great brother, but I was surprised to learn how many people knew he was my brother.
William Attar's on this?
Oh, brother.
Because when Big Insurance finds out that he's on a car crash case...
So who's on this?
They hired William Attar.
Oh, brother.
Word travels fast.
You know, they got Matar on this.
Matar? Oh, brother.
Hurt in a car? Call my brother, William Attar. 444-4444.
You may see a teen struggling to find his way. At Boys and Girls Clubs, we see a teen gaining the confidence and skills to land his first job. You may see a child wrestling with hidden battles. We see a child learning to manage life's twists and turns. And where you may see a distracted teen, we see teens making a difference in their community. Kids today need people to see their potential and help them achieve it. At Boys and Girls Clubs, we do whatever it takes to help kids succeed, from fostering confidence and community to preparing them for graduation and beyond. Because when we see young people, we see limitless possibilities. Do you? Join us, Boys and Girls Clubs. Great futures start here.
Fox 10 p.m. News is the first primetime local news for the Twin Tiers. Our reporters, Haley and Dante, scour the southern tier to bring you up-to-date news regarding local businesses, economics, and how national decisions impact our area. If you're not near a TV, don't worry. You can also catch our 10 p.m. news live on WYDCTV.com/livestream. Don't miss Big Fox 10 p.m. news on WYDC, on TV, or our website.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Marcus Street in Corning. I am reluctant to bring up this New York State issue. Oh, a comment first from a viewer. Wasn't it the change to the gold standard that caused the depression? That is absolutely one factor. I think there was others, but I am not exactly sure why Mitch McConnell went that route. But okay, I'm reluctant to bring up this New York State issue. But I have to report exactly what is presented to me that I believe is newsworthy. I don't like the name, but Governor Hochul, and I've asked you if you have any insider info, how the ban on cell phones in schools is going. I know yesterday for many schools was the first day of classes, and bell to bell, no cell phones in school. How is it going? How is the withdrawal symptoms, the detox? But apparently, and some people are calling it her lieutenant governor because her lieutenant governor, meaning Governor Hochul, her lieutenant governor is kind of MIA because he's running against her in a primary and disavowed the work that she was doing. So he's been eased out, though technically still the lieutenant governor. So they're calling this new mascot her lieutenant governor. He's 6 foot tall. His blue eyes don't blink. He has orange eyebrows, thick-rimmed glasses, and neon green hair that covers his body. Some are calling him kind of close to the Philly Fanatic, and maybe a mix between the Philly Fanatic and Where the Wild Things Are. This is the mascot to keep young kids focused without their cell phones. This is their PR campaign. Now you're asking, why am I reluctant to tell you the story? Because Governor Hochul, and all of her wisdom, has decided to call this mascot Frankie Focus. That's one thing I've never been called. Frankie Focus. And he looks like the type of creature young students may have actually feared living under their bed as they were growing up. Hochul unveiled the toothy titan as she welcomed students to the first day of school in East Williamsburg. He doesn't say a lot. He's kind of quiet, Hochul told the middle schoolers. But he is very focused on learning in school, because focused on the teachers, focused on making friends. Does a mascot work for middle schoolers? I thought for sure it was an elementary school. Okay. So Frankie Focus is a new mascot promoting the school smartphone ban. Hochul said, as Frankie and his oversized eyes peered out from a few feet away, we are no longer distracted because of our cell phones from bell to bell, open bell to closing bell. Frankie Focus will be making stops across the state of New York in the coming days to promote the new rules. Frankie has accompanied Hochul through the Brooklyn schools as she handed out locking Yonder, I believe it's called, pouches to students to store their phones. Hochul's office didn't respond to questions about how much the state spent on the mascot costume or which government employee was stuffed inside. Yeah, you wonder what intern got that job. But a spokesperson did provide a document summarizing the Frankie Focus initiative, noting that he's part of a public service campaign from the State Office of Mental Health called Team Phone Free, where Frankie is depicted in cartoon versions alongside 3 other monster-like characters. Quote, Frankie loves to get in the action and celebrate life in real life outside of the cell phone. Sure, he may cause a bit of ruckus at times, but his heart is in the right place. Well, that's that. I like that one. Sure, Frankie may cause a bit of a ruckus at times, but his heart is in the right place. Okay. That's how I feel, too, folks. I may cause some trouble at times, but my heart's in the right place. The Justice Department, as I mentioned earlier, this is big news. Trump's Justice Department wants New York's Climate Change Superfund Act declared unconstitutional. They asked a federal judge last week to strike down the 2024 law, which seeks to put big oil companies on the hook for climate-related damages. So what this essentially did, big oil, again, I know I said this in the last hour. Big oil said, essentially, we're going to do, or I'm sorry, New York said to big oil, you did everything right. You followed all the rules. You went through all the New York bureaucratic red tape. You've been doing everything fine for the last 20 years. But guess what? Big oil is no longer in favor. We don't really care for what you're doing because of green energy. So we are going to fine you for things you did in the past. Sending a signal to other messages who may fall out of, or other businesses who may fall out of favor. Sending that message that, hey, keep this in mind. If you're thinking of moving to New York and you're, I don't know, part of this industry that 10 years from now may not be popular, you could be fined. In this case, collecting $75 billion from, quote, the biggest polluters over 25 years, which could go toward paying for those damages, and advocates argue in the process save taxpayer money. The filing, asking for a summary judgment, accuses New York State of violating precedent that federal law should govern disputes relating to pollution in which the interstate or international nature of the controversy makes it appropriate for state law to control. Insisting the Constitution demand a federal rule of decision. Blair Horner, senior policy advisor, was a chief advocate for the law, saying that it's not as if it didn't occur to those behind the bill that it would face significant legal challenges. Now, I also wanted to mention this. Here we go. Yeah, I knew I had it here. State Republicans who fiercely oppose the law were gathered in Buffalo Wednesday for an unrelated event rallying against the state's overall climate policy. And that's what I've been telling you about. The Assemblyman Phil Palmisano started this, getting a large group of Republicans to travel around the state and talk about the failed energy policies of Governor Hochul and one-party rule in Albany. Well, Wednesday they were in Buffalo, yesterday in Rochester. Senate Minority Leader Rob Ortt said, I don't believe it's constitutional. And here we go, making the news. State Assemblyman Phil Palmisano, ranking member on the Energy Committee, countered Horner's argument, insisting that New Yorkers will pay if the law does ultimately stand up to legal scrutiny. Quote, the ratepayer, the small business, the manufacturer, the farmer, that is who is going to pay for this surcharge if this is not thrown out. This is a retroactive penalty assessment on businesses that followed the rules, did all the proper permit process, did what they were supposed to do, followed the rules and regulations of the state of New York, said Assemblyman Palmisano. Horner and advocates dispute the idea that ratepayers will foot the bill for the fund. Come on. Yeah, no, the ratepayers never are the ones that suffer. We got to take a short break. Wow, a lot of comments come in. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
The Nissan Rogue takes hit after hit, punished under immense pressure, and exposed to excessive wear. We put it through the worst, so you get its best. Now get 0% APR financing for 60 months on the 2025 Nissan Rogue, Pathfinder, or Murano.
Is this your mom?
Yes.
And that's your dad?
Nope.
I'm the father. Even if you're the father, you're lying.
My family does not like my boyfriend.
Solid family.
I've had enough of this. I'm not your mommy.
Now you're just talking crazy.
Don't do that. I'm not your auntie, I'm your mother.
Can't cross mama and come in here and get treated nice. Your case is dismissed and so are you.
The Bix website is here now. WYDCTV.com. Local and national news that keeps you informed and involved. WYDCTV.com. Today's weather, up to date and in your town. WYDCTV.com. Sports news, local events, and health stories that affect you. WYDCTV.com. The Big Fox website. Your news here now. WYDCTV.com.
If you are one regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, you may be entitled to significant financial compensation.
I've used hair relaxers for years. I had no idea they could cause cancer.
Chemical hair relaxers and straighteners have been linked to serious conditions, including several types of cancer. If you used hair relaxers and have been diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, call us now. There's no fee unless we win your case. Call today.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio, and we have a lot of comments to get to. Let's go. Let's go to the board. All right, first up, one of the things I appreciate about Trump is how he flushes out the likes of McConnell. Another neocon fossil. Yeah, Mitch McConnell has shown his true colors. I'm not going to say tactically wise he was bad the way he did it all, but we saw towards the end kind of his true colors, and we're seeing it even more so with those quotes. Rick writes in, good morning, Frank. Well, good morning, Rick. Well, after watching Kennedy deservingly get his fanny spanked for most of the day, Thursday, my two-word description of Trump's policy is dump Trump. Have a great weekend, y'all. Thank you, Rick. You have a great weekend as well. Comment from a different viewer regarding energy, typical of a Democrat to embrace you 1 minute, but later only to push you away after they are done with you. And that's in reference to the Climate Change Superfund. Yes, New York very much loved big oil's taxes and the money and the investments they made in New York. Not so much now. And now they're turning on them and looking at them. Okay, we got money on the front. Now we're going to get it on the back by backdating, essentially, fines. Trump administration calling it unconstitutional. I think it has definitely sent a message to residents or to businesses about New York State that why would we come here? Just like with the lawsuits against Trump when they got him for, what was it, misleading on his how much he had made or how much the building was worth, and standard practice, apparently we were told after, that there goes the real estate business in New York. There goes anything we can do to attack business. But comment from a different viewer. Ken writes in, without looking online, do you know who Antonio Delgado is? Interesting that we never hear anything about him. Well, I do know because we talked about him on the program, but I would say 9 out of 10 people, not that watch this program, but 9 out of 10 people, and even that's high, don't know who he is. Antonio Delgado is Governor Hochul's lieutenant governor. Now think too for a second, and he's by the way he's primarying Governor Hochul. He basically came out and disavowed her, saying that's why they were joking that the Frankie Focus mascot was her real lieutenant governor, because he's going to be traveling around the state when Delgado has been pushed by the wayside and not given any, I don't even think he has an office anymore, just officially the title. Yeah, but if you think about it, did you really know who Kathy Hochul was before Cuomo resigned? Probably not. But yeah, they don't cover him. They're definitely not covering his primary challenge, only when necessary, only when in an article they're talking about perhaps Elise Stefanik jumping in and they'll say, oh, and there's a potential primary, or there's a primary between Hochul and her lieutenant governor. But it is interesting. No coverage whatsoever. You don't even know where he is. I haven't seen anything other than the few articles. That was even months ago when he first declared. And then, like I said, in those pieces where they have to report it. Comment from a different viewer. Good morning, Frank. Well, hey, good morning. Once again, there was new all-time highs for the S&P 500 yesterday. That scary king with those tariffs is ruining everything except for the stock market. But don't tell anybody. Yeah, I won't tell anybody. The media sure isn't telling anybody. That's for sure. We appreciate that. Keep those comments coming in. We're having a blast, and I appreciate it. Okay. Also, since we're talking about New York Attorney General Letitia James is going to appeal, or is appealing, a court's decision to toss out a $500 million penalty on President Trump and his company. If you recall, they really went after her in their decision. The judge is not going to stop her. She said, you know what? We don't care. We've got taxpayer money to fund this. Not my money. Bring it on. We're going to appeal it. The appeal comes 2 weeks after the punishment imposed by a Manhattan Supreme Court trial judge was voided by the First Judicial Department of the New York Supreme Court's appellate decision. They went after, eviscerated that judge and that decision. But again, Letitia James is saying, what do I care? It's not my money. It's the taxpayers' money. And it kind of reminds me of Steuben County, what we're dealing with the sheriff. But that's a side note. New York Attorney General Letitia James with the appeal on the sheriff that should have never happened. But that's taxpayer money. Why not? Right? It's only taxpayer money, even though the sheriff was completely vindicated by the New York State Supreme Court. Same here. The judge, in no uncertain term, saying that the $500 million penalty was tossed out and the judge overstepped his bounds. And it looked like it was done, and I'm paraphrasing here, for political reasons. Letitia James said, no, we're going to appeal that. The court said that the fine violated the U.S. Constitution's 8th Amendment, which prohibits excessive fines. I guess in Letitia James, $500 million is an excessive fine. I would love to know this whole piece. I'd love to know how much, at the end of the day, this is costing New York taxpayers. But again, I will read that comment. Okay. At the end of the day, she doesn't care. It's our money. Zohran Mamdani challenges President Trump to a public debate, saying, let's cut out the middleman. Why should I debate Donald Trump's puppet when I could debate Donald Trump himself? I guess his puppet must mean Cuomo. Is that who they're saying? Is that who he's saying the middleman is? Or is it going to be Silwa or Eric Adams? This is coming off the heels of that behind-the-scenes conversation with Adams. We're going to talk about that in just a second. I think that'd be a wonderful debate. The White House did not immediately respond to a request for comment. I think they have bigger fish to fry. Cuomo ripped Mamdani for refusing to take part in debates. New Yorkers deserve answers. I challenge him to 5 debates, one in every borough, where we speak about the issues in that borough. You know But Cuomo brushed off questions about whether he'd participate in a debate with just Silwa and Adams. You know my position, and you know Eric Adams' position, and you know Silwa's position. Mamdani told voters in a video on Wednesday that he would not be participating in debates outside of the 2 scheduled by the city's campaign finance board in October. In the meantime, I won't be at the televised circus. So running, and I can't blame him. He basically won for a couple different reasons. But one of them is because Cuomo was too arrogant, didn't feel the need to campaign. So he kind of went under the radar. People say, even that completely disagree with his politics, that he is a somewhat charming guy in person. But his rhetoric, just like this piece says, yes, Zohran Mamdani is a socialist. See, the New York Times is trying to run interference and trying to kind of cover up his clear track record. When it comes to describing his political beliefs, New York Journalists Corps has spent the past year quietly giving slack to now mayoral frontrunner Zohran Mamdani. The Queens Assemblyman calls himself a Democrat socialist. The New York Times last week, however, assured readers that Mamdani's socialism means something other than the traditional collectivist policies. Isn't that what they always say? Mr. Mamdani's plan to pay for his proposal borrows from a traditional Democratic method, increase taxes on the rich. He would also increase the top corporate tax rate, but has proposed nothing remotely close to a socialist-like takeover of private companies, which is a lie because he did do that, wanted to do that with grocery stores and others. He was quoted in the past as saying it. Anyway. In the state assembly, Mamdani has backed a social housing proposal, for example, that would let state governments seize property and convert them into public housing. In an old video, he equated the abolition of private property with a statewide housing guarantee, saying that either formulation would be preferable to the status quo. He also called for democratic control of gas and electric utilities, something he and others describe as a public power. And don't forget, as the New York Times did, that Mamdani has called for city government to open its own grocery store. So make no mistake as they try to cover up his record. AOC taking a dig at top Democrats Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries. This is becoming more popular to do. Hakeem Jeffries had kind of been able to avoid it to a point, getting a little criticism, but not getting the pushback that we thought he would. But Chuck Schumer has been attacked ever since he agreed to that budget plan. So he has been under attack. They say he should no longer be a leader. He doesn't understand what it's like in the Trump world. He's not a member of the resistance. And now Jeffries is getting it too. But in this case, AOC finds it okay to criticize them, maybe because she's going to run for Schumer's spot, whether he runs for re-election or not. AOC took a dig at Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries and other establishment members of the party for not backing Zohran Mamdani in New York's mayoral race. She noted that she backed former President Joe Biden when he became the 2020 Democrat nominee, prevailing over her favorite candidate, of course, Bernie Sanders. Quote, "We have a Democrat nominee. Are we a party who rallies behind our nominee or not?" AOC, who is a big fan of Mamdani, asked the question. Because what we do is we use our primary to settle our differences. And once we have a nominee, we rally behind that nominee. She raises a fair point. I'm very concerned about the example that is being set by anybody in our party. If an individual does not want to support the party's nominee now, it complicates their ability to ask voters to support any nominee later. Governor Kathy Hochul also has not endorsed Mamdani. So there you are. There you are. Not happy with the leaders of our party. We got some comments coming in. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Getting distracted. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox.
You know, William, with the name Camille growing up, I had a lot of nicknames. Camille Schmiel, Cammy, Camera, Cam.
Oh, I remember. Cam on the Lamb.
Chameleon.
Charles.
That was a weird one. Did you have any nicknames? Bill.
Bill.
Yeah, I guess that's it.
Sophia A., grade 4, absent, because transportation was absent.
Julio M., grade 6, absent, because Wi-Fi was absent.
Maria J., grade 12, absent, because child care for siblings was absent.
Jacob O., grade 12, absent, because housing was absent.
Aisha S.,
Olivia H.
Darren L.
Cole W.
Preston L.
Absent.
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 Because healthcare.
Anti-bullying.
Mental health support was absent.
We're calling roll on the 15 million absent students.
Their reasons why are very real.
And yet the solution is a present, caring adult to help them along their path.
When communities and schools is present, 99% of our students are present and ready to learn.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. Let's go to some viewer comments, shall we? First up, maybe Frankie Focus could help Rick deal with his TDS, Trump Derangement Syndrome. Yes, Frankie Focus, the mascot of the cell phone ban in schools. I like this. Comment from a different viewer. Maybe Governor Hochul will put the lieutenant governor in that Frankie costume. Maybe that's actually who it was. We'll never know, because he has, Antonio Delgado, he has been nowhere to be seen. So maybe that's why they were joking that that's their actual lieutenant governor. Trump made a deadline to thin the mayoral race out in New York City in an attempt to defeat Mamdani. He rang out billionaire businessman John Castimedes, who has longtime ties to both Adams and Silwa, and voiced his dismay about what might happen if Mamdani wins in November. He is concerned about the New York City race. He does not want a socialist mayor, and he said it's not going to happen under his watch. Trump, in a historic interjection by a president in the New York City mayoral race, said he wanted the field to be winnowed down in the next 10 days. At the end of the next 10 days, he wants the most qualified candidate to beat Mamdani. Trump was later asked if he was going to get a mayoral candidate to drop out. He said, I don't know. I don't like to see a communist become mayor. I won't tell you that. And I don't think you can win unless you have a one-on-one. Cuomo says he doesn't want Trump involved. I don't want him involved in anything to do with my race, which is could have actually helped him, but okay. Curtis Silwa refused to drop out. That is really coming as no surprise. He's not going to drop out. The Red Beret-wearing Guardian Angels founder has been encouraged by the massive mounds of cash, more than $3 million he has raised since June from thousands of donors. And Silwa feels an obligation to down-ballot Republicans as the GOP standard-bearer. He has an obligation to other Republican candidates running down the ballot, said former three-term GOP Governor George Pataki, who's actually a major Silwa booster. That's interesting. He would be abandoning them. That's not going to happen. Curtis is committed to the city. I don't understand the pressure to get him out. Well, there could be an argument that he will do well. I don't think he beats Mamdani, but if it would be interesting if it was a one-on-one race against Silwa and Mamdani, but that will never be the case. Mayor Eric Adams, though, did meet with Trump's special envoy, Steve Witkoff, to talk about a possible administrative gig. The Thursday sit-down with high-level member of the Trump administration came as the White House officials were discussing a possible plum gig for Adams, including an ambassadorship, apparently as an incentive to drop his re-election bid. Adams traveled to the Sunshine State late Monday as part of an undisclosed trip that was later confirmed by his team to be part of his 65th birthday celebration. The mayor didn't reveal what he did during the jaunt south, but did not deny that he met with the people in Trump's administration. So looking kind of for a cushy gig, gives him an excuse to drop out of the race. Then it's, I guess, Cuomo and Silwa. But if you look at it, kind of the ironic part is, of polling right now, the last I saw anyway, Silwa actually had better numbers than Adams. So that may not be as beneficial as thought. So the New York Post editorial board said if Trump wants to shift the mayor's race, he needs to get more creative. Yeah, I don't know. It's going to be a tough one. All right, we got a couple of last things we're going to breeze through quick, but I want to read your comments because we only have a couple minutes left. So get them in during the break, and we'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox.
Steuben County Office for the Aging will be hosting a public hearing on Thursday, September 18th at First Presbyterian Church in Bath. This hearing is to review the 2026 annual implementation plan for the Older Americans Act and the Steuben County Office for the Aging. This public hearing will take place at 9 a.m. on Thursday, September 18th in the Fellowship Hall of the First Presbyterian Church in Bath. Copies of the plan will be available at the Office for the Aging.
Fox Sports app isn't just any sports app. It's your sports app.
For the touchdown!
Yeah, yours. Your teams. Your highlights. Your scores. Your stories. Just choose your favorites to get more of what you want.
To the end zone!
And of course, stream your teams live. The best part is free with your pay TV subscription. Grab your Fox Sports app today.
If you or a loved one regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, you may be entitled to significant financial compensation.
I've used hair relaxers for years. I had no idea they could cause cancer.
Chemical hair relaxers and straighteners have been linked to serious conditions, including several types of cancer. If you used hair relaxers and have been diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, call us now. There's no fee unless we win your case. Call today.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today with all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Comment from Mark. He says, so Hochul doesn't endorse Mamdani, which might be a good thing. She might lose New York City voters as she has probably lost the rest of the state. Fair point, Mark. Thank you. Also saying, have a great weekend, Frank. Well, you have a great weekend too, Mark, and have everybody out there have a great weekend. According to The Hill, Gavin Newsom is becoming an obsession for Democrats beyond California. Democrat strategist Jamal Simmons said Newsom's name is coming up more than anyone else's in recent weeks. They asked me two questions. Do you think he can win? Do you think he can be the guy? No one has ever asked me a single policy question about him. A lot of Democrats think that this might be the time for a more traditional choice, and Newsom fits that bill. They just want a winner. They have this mindset of let's just win, and we'll sort out the politics later. Ooh, that's okay. Oh, by the way, do you remember Tim Kaine? He ran on the bill with Hillary Clinton. He was a VP nod. He pushed back against opening statements by Riley Barnes, and this was at a Senate hearing about President Trump's nominees. Barnes quoted Secretary of State Marco Rubio saying, we are a nation founded on a powerful principle, and that powerful principle is that all men are created equal because our rights come from God, our creator, not from our laws, not from our government. This is Tim Kaine. This could have been the Vice President of the United States. He's a Catholic. He called that sentiment troubling. The notion that rights don't come from laws and don't come from the government, but come from the creator, that's what the Iranian government believes. It's a theocratic regime that bases its rule on Shia law and targets Sunnis. And they do it because they believe they understand what natural rights are from their creator. So the statement that our rights do not come from our laws or our government is extremely troubling. It's almost as if Tim Kaine has never even heard that our rights come from the creator. That is scary. Also goes to show you what he would have been like as vice president. That these ideas in the Constitution and these ideas from our founding are foreign to them. The government is the most powerful. These didn't come from God. Our rights didn't come from. They came from Tim Kaine and the government. All right. Oh, and just speaking of an ignorance on background, Representative Ansari, Yasmin Ansari, she had said that her constituents were illegal aliens. So her illegal aliens were her constituents. She now receives so much pushback that she said she had to Google the word constituent. So she misused the word because she didn't even know what a constituent was. She's a representative in Congress. She did not know. She says, so I didn't realize this was such a controversy until the right-wing media started attacking me for using the word. So I Googled the word constituent. All right, if you want to go with that as your excuse. Hey, everybody. Have a great weekend. Where did the week go? Where did this broadcast go? I want to thank you for joining us. Don't forget about Notre Dame's fun event tomorrow, starting at noon. You heard it yesterday, but I want to make sure that you were reminded. All right, we'll see you on Monday morning starting at 6 a.m. for Frankly Speaking, only on WYDC TV, Big Fox. I look forward to it already. Have a fun, safe weekend.
Steuben County Office for the Aging will be hosting a public hearing on Thursday, September 18th at First Presbyterian Church in Bath. This hearing is to review the 2026 annual implementation plan for the Older Americans Act and the Steuben County Office for the Aging. This public hearing will take place at 9 a.m. on Thursday, September 18th in the Fellowship Hall of the First Presbyterian Church in Bath. Copies of the plan will be available at the Office for the Aging.